Hi students. So point of view is an element in a story that can greatly affect what we know about the plot of a story. However, finding it sometimes or figuring out whose point of view the story is being told from can be tricky and trip us up. So hopefully this video will help you figure out the point of a view from a story and what that even means. So first let's start with what is point of view. Point of view is who is telling or narrating the story. So the eyes on the first slide really help tell you whose eyes do we get to see the story through. For example, each person in this picture down here could have a different viewpoint of what's going on in this picture. So if he's telling the story, we might get one idea, and if she's telling it, we might get a different. Therefore, the point of view really changes the information that we get. So when looking at point of view, there's really three different types. There's third person, second person, and first person. Third person point of view, second person point of view, first person point of view. Third person point of view uses pronouns like he, she, and they in the narration of the story. Second person point of view uses pronouns like you and addresses you, the reader. First person point of view uses pronouns like I, me, or we, and is really the narrator is saying, I went to the store, we did this. Now, third person and first person are easily the most common points of view. That's what we're used to seeing in stories. Second person is really uncommon. It only happens in your choose your own adventure stories, where they give the readers the option. If you'd like to go slay the dragon, turn to page 27. If you want to walk through the forest to get to the princess, turn to page 19. So for the rest of what we're doing, we're not going to worry too much about second person because none of the stories that we're going to be reading address you, the reader. Third person point of view means we have a narrator that's an outsider to the story saying what they see go on, what he or she did. What determines what type of third person point of view we get is what that narrator actually tells us. So we could have third person objective, where they're an objective outsider just telling us the things that go on. We could have third person limited, where we get a little bit more information about the thoughts and feelings of a character, but it is limited to one character. And third person omniscient is kind of an all-knowing narrator. We get the thoughts and feelings of multiple characters. So let's look at that a different way. Third person objective, we have a narrator. Just a narrator. We get the idea of what's going on, that's it. Third person limited, we still have that same narrator, but now we're getting the thoughts and feelings of one character. We get to see the inside workings of their brain, how they're thinking and feeling about the events that are going on, but just one character. Now the third person omniscient, we still have that same outside narrator, but we get all the thoughts and feelings, every character in the story, or at least the main ones. So sometimes it's one plus the others. Now these differences between the different types of third-person narrator can sometimes make it tricky to figure out which one is it. Which point of view is my story being told in? Now the first-person point of view, still it's really helpful to think that I have a narrator, but the difference is the narrator is in the story. They're a character in the story, and they're going to tell you things from their perspective. So they're going to use words like I or me when talking about what they did. So hopefully now you have a slightly better understanding of what point of view is and the different types that we're going to be looking for. Mostly first person and the different types of third person. Third person objective, third person limited, and third person omniscient. But what might still be unclear is how do I go figure it out in a story? What clues am I looking for, or what words can help me figure out which point of view is being used? That's what we're going to look at next. So like I just said, Finding the point of view in a novel or story can still be a little tricky or confusing. So you have a question on a worksheet or a test that asks, what's the point of view of this story? And you need to know, where do I start, or how do I figure this out? That's what I'm here to help you with. So the first thing you want to do when looking for point of view is to find a couple sentences from the story that are not dialogue, meaning it's not in quotation marks, it's not things that the characters are saying to each other. Here's why that's important. Characters talking to each other might still say, I did this, or she did that. Looking for pronouns in those sentences aren't going to help you. By taking sentences that are not dialogue, I'm picking the parts of the story that are told by the narrator, where the narrator is explaining the action and things that went on. So looking for pronouns, thoughts, and feelings in those sections are what we need to do to figure out point of view. Once we've found those couple sentences in a row, we need to then look at what pronouns are in those sentences. Now remember, pronouns are words like I, me, he, she, we, they, and the difference between first person and third person really depends on what pronouns they're using. So if I see pronouns like I, me, we, or us, then it's going to be a first person point of view story. And I'm done. There's only one type of first person point of view. I don't need any of the rest of the steps. I found my answer and I'm good to go. Now, should I find pronouns like he, she, they, them, then I really do have to move on to the next step, because I know it's a third person point of view, but I don't know which type yet. So I still have my couple sentences, and I've determined that it's third person point of view because of the pronouns that it uses. Now I need to look and see, are there any thought and feeling words? Does it talk about how he felt, what he knew, what she thought? Were somebody worried or scared? Words like that are going to be helpful in figuring out whether my point of view could be something other than third person objective. So if there are no words like thought, knew, felt, worried, scared, then it's third person objective. Now, to be on the safe side, I might want to take a couple different sentence chunks to look at just to be sure. Okay, this section doesn't have thoughts or feelings. Does this section have thoughts or feelings? Nope, this one does not either. Once I've taken a look at a few more sentences to really make sure there's no thoughts or feelings, I can definitely say this is third person objective. Now, if I do find thoughts and feelings words, then I need to keep going to the next step, because I still need to decide, is it third person limited or is it third person omniscient? So I found a few thoughts and feelings words. Now I have to look for which characters do we actually get thoughts and feelings for. If all the thoughts and feelings we have in the narration are really limited to just one character, then it's third person limited to one character. If we have thoughts and feelings of even two main characters, then it has to be third person omniscient, because it's no longer limited to the thoughts and feelings of that one character. So I know that might feel like a lot of steps to go through just to find the point of view for the story and what it's written in, but it really is important to know who's narrating the story, whose eyes are we getting to see this from. So let's take a quick review of the steps that we just covered. Remember to first pick sentences from the story that are not dialogue. They're not in quotation marks. Second, look for what pronouns the sentences use. Do they use I and me, or do they use he and she? Third, look for any thoughts and feelings of the characters. Words like knew, felt, worried, those are going to be clues that it's not that objective point of view. And then finally, decide if you have just one character's thoughts and feelings or more characters, because that's what makes the difference between the third person limited and the third person omniscient. So hopefully after watching that video, if your teacher asks you to figure out the point of view of the story, you'll feel a bit more confident and have the steps to figure it out.